Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Dave's Top 3000 Songs of the Rock Era. Today I'm up to song number 2516 on my list, and that one is Handyman by James Taylor. This came out in 1977, went to number 4 that year, and it was also released on his multi-platinum studio album called JT, which came out the same year. And here's a picture of James Taylor around the time he recorded it. I think most of you guys are probably familiar with James Taylor. He was a very famous folk musician, kind of a acoustic folk musician, kind of soft rock, if you like. He had several big hits, including this one, Handyman. He had some other ones which I think are a little bit more well known, like Fire and Rain and You've Got a Friend. But I think Handyman's a really good song, too. Even though James Taylor wrote most of his own songs, or a lot of them, he didn't write this one, though. This was written by a team of Jimmy Jones and Otis Blackwell. And Jimmy Jones was actually the first person to have a hit with this song back in 1960. He and Blackwell wrote it, I think, in December 1959, and then he recorded it shortly thereafter and had a big hit with a big doo-wop hit. And, I mean, there's a kind of a funny line in the song. James Taylor sings very slowly, comma, 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 comma. I always wondered why he was singing that. It was kind of weird. But this is part of the doo-wop thing. If you hear Jimmy Jones' version, it's much more fast-paced, and it sounds more like an early 60s doo-wop. Comma, 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 comma. He does it with his kind of high, falsetto voice. Hey, girls, gather round. Almost sounds like Runaway. By Del Shannon. So it has a very different flavor, the original hit version of this song. But James Taylor does a really good job with it, I think. He had a way of doing that. I think he remade a few other songs, did slow kind of acoustic versions of songs that were once a lot more upbeat, but he does it in a good way. So I do like James Taylor's version of this song, which is why I'm featuring it. And do I have anything else to say about this song? Not really. I remember when it was a hit. I guess I'll just tell you a little personal story about it. I really started listening. This 1977 was really the year I really got into rock and roll. It was my freshman year of high school. I was 14 at the beginning of the year. I guess my birthday's in June, so I was 15 by the end of the year. This song, I think, came out in September of 1977. I went to this summer camp I hated, by the way. I was 2 months at this horrible summer camp up in Washington State where I was being bullied practically constantly. I don't want to get into that. But, aside from being bullied, I was deprived of my top hits because I didn't have a radio with me and I didn't know what songs they were playing on the radio. I was up at this camp on San Juan Island in the middle of nowhere, doing all these stupid camp activities. And so I had to wait till I came back home in September to hear this song, which had not been popular before I left. And I did like it, but I remember they were advertising it on the radio. I used to listen to this radio station in San Francisco called KFRC, and whenever they, introduced a new big hit, they usually advertised it on the radio first. So they're saying, "Oh, James Taylor has a new hit now called Handyman," and they played a little sample, "Hey, baby, I'm your handyman." And when I first heard them advertise this, I thought they were saying Candyman because there was another hit called Candyman. I think you guys are probably familiar with it. It was from the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It was the original version from the movie was by an actor nobody's heard of and a singer nobody's heard of, Aubrey Brooks, this kind of English singer. But it was redone, as you probably know, by Sammy Davis Jr., who was very famous. He was part of the Rat Pack, and he had a big #1 hit with it. But it wasn't Candyman, it was Handyman, and it was a very different song. So anyway, that was my introduction to Handyman by James Taylor. And I do like this song, and I like his version, and I think that's all I have to say about it. So anyway, thank you for watching. You guys rock, and I'll see you next time. Bye.